Hello, children. Welcome to another episode of Kills and Bible on Divine TV, enriching souls through the gospel of Christ. And our topic today says Abraham's covenant. And our Bible chapter is Genesis chapter 17, Genesis chapter 18, Genesis chapter 21. So we are going to be taking few verses from verse 17 to 21. And I pray that as you go on, the Lord will bless you. I want you to open your ear, open your heart, and receive from God. And Genesis chapter 17, verse 2 is our memory verse. So I want to read Genesis chapter 17 now. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. Verse 2 says, and I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. That is our memory verse. You're going to take it together. You know, I've been doing it in the past episode. We turn it to song so that it can stay in our brain. And I will make my covenant between me and thee. I will multiply thee exceedingly. And I will make my covenant between me and thee. And I will multiply thee exceedingly. And I will make my covenant between me and thee. Now we multiply the exceedingly, multiply exceedingly. Now we make my covenant between me and thee. And now we multiply the exceedingly. That was God telling Abraham that we multiply him exceedingly after making his covenant between Abraham and God. Now, the story is there was once a faithful man of God who worked hard and was blessed by God. Sadly, the one thing he did not have was a child. Abraham did not have a child. He was working for God. He was a faithful person. Even Bible recorded that he was a faithful man, but he did not have a child. Yes. He longed for his son. And when the Lord promised to make him the father of many nations, Abraham was happy. He was happy. He waited for God's promise. However, years went by and his wife Sarah still did not give him a son. But do you know God has said it? And whatever God says, it will definitely come to pass. In the case of Abraham, the Bible says he was a faithful man. The last episode, I told you, I said Noah was an obedient man and he enjoyed God. So because Abraham here was a faithful man, he enjoyed God. That son that he wanted, the Lord provided for him. Yes, God provided for him. I want you to go home with me, and you will see that God provided for him. Verse 3 of the same Genesis chapter 17 says, and Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall become Abraham. His name was changed from Abram to Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. Those were God's promises to Abraham. And verse 8 says, and I will give unto thee. God is not telling him. He said, I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. Mind you, I said Abraham did not have a child, and you can see everything God was telling him, but he held on to God's promise. Verse 9 says, and God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee in thy generations. I want you to listen very well. God promised he will give him a child. Now God is telling him what to do. He said he wants him and his generation to keep his covenant. So God is a God of instruction. He will give you instruction and he will want you to follow it. Just like the way our parents gives us instructions, tells us, do it like this, do it like that. I'm talking about godly way of our parent training us now. Not that your parent will ask you to go and do something bad and you go and do no. But your parent telling you to do something good and you follow it and you do it. And you see yourself becoming something good in life. So now here God gave him an instruction. He said, I want you and your household, your family, your generation to keep my covenants. Let's go on. Verse 10 says, this is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every male child among you shall be circumcised. That was the instruction God gave to him. And verse 11 says, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. The last episode, God told Noah to build an ark, and he told him how he should build it, the length, the breadth, and Noah did exactly what God instructed him to do. Here, God is giving instruction again to Abraham, and we see that at the end of the day, the Lord really gave him what he wanted. As the Lord favored Noah, now he's going to hearken to Abraham. Then verse 12 says, and he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. We are going somewhere. Verse 14. And the uncircumcised male child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He had broken my covenant. Whosoever that does not go through circumcision, such a person is already out, because the person is not going to be under the covenant of God. And verse 14, and the uncircumcised male child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that so shall be cut off from his people. Just like what I said. The verse 15 says, and God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarai shall her name be. As the Lord changed the name of Abraham to Abraham, he changed the name of Sarah to Sarah. Do we get it now? I'm still going to ask you a question on this. Yeah, the Lord changed their names. Then in verse 15, and God said unto Abraham, verse 16, and I will bless her and give thee a son. Also of her, yea, I will bless her and shall be a mother of nations. Kids of people shall be of her. I want to quickly go on a break. When we come back, we are going to continue from where I stopped.
Enjoy inspirational, informative, and soul-lifting Christian programs such as Christian Parenting and Homefront, Light After Darkness, Fulfilling the Mandate, Kids and Bible, Movies Review, Shepherd's Spouse, Kingdom Stars, Teens Perspectives, my next gospel event, and lots more on Divine Television. Download Divine TV mobile app on Google Play Store or watch on our YouTube channel. You can also visit www.tvdivine.net. Divine TV, enriching souls through the gospel of Christ.
Welcome back. This is the Kids and Bible, and the topic says Abraham's covenant. We are looking into the covenant that the Lord gave to Abraham, what he told him, the instruction he gave him, and he carried out. And the Lord fulfilled that in which he wanted, which was a son, Isaac. Verse 16 says, "And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yeah, I will bless her." Again now. "And she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her." That was God's promise to them. The Lord told them they should not worry. He will give them what they want. They should not worry. Whatever they want, He is ready to give it to them. But they must follow Him. They must obey Him. They must keep His covenants. Just like the way God will want us to obey our parents. Not only our parents, people around us that gives us good instructions, that tells us to do it in a right and good way. When we follow it, definitely we will see positive results. We will be happy, and every one of us around, everybody around us will be happy too. But to Sarai, he now advised Abraham. He said, "We've not seen the son now. Let's do something." So, however, years went by, and his wife Sarah still did not give him a son. In an attempt to take things into her hands, Sarai convinced Abraham to marry her maid servant, Hagar, who was from Egypt. Abraham did so. He hearkened to the voice of the wife, and Hagar became pregnant with a son. When the child was born, he was called Ishmael. The child was called Ishmael, but that was not the son. That was not the promised child. That was not the son the Lord promised Abraham. He has told him He will give him a son, but this one, they just did it on their own. But they still went on with it. And verse 24 of the same Genesis chapter 17 says, "And Abraham was 19 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the self-same day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son, and all the men of his house born in the house and bought with money of the stranger were circumcised." You know, the Lord told him that everybody bought with money in your house, they need to be circumcised. And they were circumcised because that was God's instruction. But the son, Ishmael, wasn't the promised child that the Lord has for Abraham. It was the wife that told, the Sarah that told him, "Let's go ahead, let's do it." Whatever, anything God, any promise God gives to you, that you are very sure that it is God that is giving it to you, hold on to it. When you hold on to it, in His own timing, He will bring it to pass. Abraham is known across the world as the father of nations. But there was once a time when Abraham thought he would never have any children. He thought. So it will always happen that you will think that, can I amount to something in life? Can I become what I have seen myself becoming? Don't be discouraged. Hold on to God. God says it, and He will bring it to pass. When you hold on to Him, and you go on with Him, and you don't leave His side, through the help of the guidance, the caretaker, your parents, your siblings, your family members that you have around you, you will see yourself becoming that God wants you to become. This was not the promised child, as I said, for the Lord promised that His son would be born to Sarai, and that he will bless Abraham through him one day. Something happened. You ask me what it is? There was a visitation. God visited Abraham. 3 men visited Abraham, who showed them great hospitality. You know, when we do some things at times, when we do good things, we don't really know how the outcome will be. But for the fact that what you are doing is good, continue doing it. When you do it with a good heart, you will see that something positive will come out from it. When the visitors came, Abraham did not know that he was doing something good to God. He did not know that those people that visited, they were God's representatives. They came, but it was hospitable to them. It was good to them. And through that, there was a visitation. I want us to read we read chapter 17. I want to quickly go to chapter 18. I will just read few verses, just verse 1 to 9. Genesis chapter 19. And there came 2 angels to Sodom and Eve, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself to. Okay, before we go to verse 19, let's read. We've read verse 17. Let's read verse 18. Let's read verse 18 and see the visitation that he talked about. Genesis chapter 18, verse 1. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. Verse 2. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servants. Verse 4. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. Verse 5. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort thee your earth. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are you come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. Doing something good is the best. He did something he never knew. He was just doing his own. Come, let me help you. Come, let me give you food. Come, let me take water and wash your leg. You've been coming from a far journey. You need to rest. Come and sit down and rest. That was what he told them. He never knew he was doing himself good. Verse 6. And Abraham hasted into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the earth. And verse 7 says, Abraham ran unto the earth, and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. Verse 8. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. Verse 9. And they said unto him, Where is Sarai thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. Genesis chapter 18, verse 10 now. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarai thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. We want to go on a break now. When we come back, we'll continue.
Enjoy inspirational, informative, and soul-lifting Christian programs such as Christian Parenting and Homefront, Light After Darkness, Fulfilling the Mandate, Kids and Bible, Movies Review, Shepherd's Spouse, Kingdom Stars, Teens Perspectives, My Next Gospel Event, and lots more on Divine Television. Download Divine TV mobile app on Google Play Store or watch on our YouTube channel. You can also visit www.tvdivine.net. Divine TV, enriching souls through the gospel of Christ.
You're welcome back. This is the Kids and Bible on Divine TV. and the topic is Abraham's covenant. These men that I talked about, they were actually God that visited Abraham. He never knew. And his angels who came in disguise, they were angels, they came in disguise. They told Abraham that by the same time next year, just like what I read in verse 10 now, Sarah will have a son. Sarah laughed, and she thought she was more too old to have a child. Just like the way when we see God promises, we laugh. At times we think, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. As a child of God, David, as a child of God, Tola, as a child of God, Yemi, whatever God has said about you will come to pass. When you hold on to it and you go on with it, God has his own time. He will bring it to pass. Yours is just to follow his instructions. Yours is just when you get to a junction that you don't understand again, you don't need to trouble yourself. Just go back to him. Go back to him in prayers. You may not hear him speak, but don't worry. Relate your heart to him. Instead of going to friends, friends cannot do anything for you. Even your parents, it is little they can do compared to what God will do for you. Because he's the one that created us. He's the one that made promises for us. He's the one that knows what is best for us. He knows what was best for Abraham. And he told him, but they went in their own ways. But what they got wasn't a child of promise. But God wants a child of promise for them. And at his own right timing, he brought it to pass. So Sarah laughed. That is it possible? As old as I am, can't you see who I am? Like we read the other time in that book of Genesis 17, verse 24, the Bible says, and Abraham was 19 years old and 99 years old when he was circumcised. So you should know that both of them, they were old. But our God is a God of timing. You can't rush him. No. You can't tell him fast forward it. No. He knows what is best for us. The Lord also gave Abraham and Sarah new names, just like I've said earlier. And from then, they were known as Abraham and Sarah, for Sarah means princess, and she will be the mother of many nations, just like the way Bible had put it. So now we want to quickly go to Genesis chapter 21. I want to see what happened there. You know, God has told them what to want to do, and let us see if the Lord did it or not. Chapter 21. Genesis chapter 21. And the Lord visited Sarah as he has said. And the Lord did unto Sarah as he has spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age. I like Bible. Bible said in his old age. He puts it there so that we will know that they were old, very old before they gave birth. At the set time of which God has spoken to him. So that means God has a time for you and I. He has a time to bring those things to pass. But he must find you staying where he wants you to stay. He must find you doing that in which he wants you to do. In the case of Abraham, he gave him a covenant. He told him, you must follow it. Your generation, your household, even including those that were bought with money in your family, in your household, they must be circumcised. That was God's instruction. What are God's instructions for you? You may think, I don't know it. Auntie Kemi, I don't know it. Auntie Oluwakem Sinola, I don't know it. If you don't know it, stay with God. Ask him, the Father, what are those things that you want me to do? He may decide to talk to you. You may hear his voice. He may decide to speak to you through his word. He may send people to you. And he may even use your parents. And that is why, as many of us that have parents that always give us good instructions, let's listen to them. When we listen to them, we will see ourselves walking in the path of the Lord. When we listen to them, we will see ourselves becoming that the Lord wants us to be in life. Not that we will leave their instructions and we'll go and meet a friend outside, a friend that will lure us into what is not, that will take us out of God's presence. No, God does not want that. He wants you to always be in His presence because He is a good God. Abraham was faithful, even right from the beginning. But as he continues, he was still faithful with the Lord. It was the wife that advised him to do it this way. They did it. They got Ismail, but the Lord had to let them know that this is not a child of promise. So when you are walking in a wrong way, when you are out of God's presence, definitely what you will get will not be the perfect one. You will get it in another way that is not God's way. But getting it in God's ways is the best because you always have peace of mind. The Lord kept His promise with Abraham. And at the same time, where God said He was going to do it, He did it. He said next year, a son was born to Sarah. Yeah. And they named him Isaac, which means laughter, because Sarah had laughed when she was told she will have a son. You know, I read it to us the other time that she laughed. She laughed, yes, she laughed. And now, when the child was giving birth to, they named the child Laughter Isaac. Laughter Isaac. So when we wait unto the Lord for His promises, definitely we will laugh. Definitely we will find joy. Definitely we will see positive results. I want us to know, the moral of the lesson is this. I want us to know that God is faithful and He will always keep His promises. God is faithful and He will always keep His promises. David, God is faithful and He will always keep His promises. Let it continue to ring in your ear, every one of you, that this God is faithful. So when you know that God is faithful, you always carry your issues to Him and you will see Him helping you. Yeah, thank you. This is, we are almost done, but before we go, I still want us to take our memory verse, Genesis chapter 17, verse 2. I want us to sing our song and we're going to draw the curtain from there. And I will make my covenant between me and thee. I will multiply thee exceedingly. Can we take it together now? And I will make my covenant between me and thee. And I will multiply thee exceedingly. I will make my covenant between me and thee, and now we multiply thee exceedingly. Don't forget that God is faithful and He will always keep His promises. Hold on to God, hold on to His instructions, and you will see that something good will come out of your life. Rely on Him, trust in Him. Take your issues to Him. Even before you take it to your mom, before you take it to your dad, take it to God in prayer. Go inside your room, kneel down, pray. Father, this and this and this. Relate it to Him and you will see Him helping you. Thank you very much. This is Abraham's Covenant on Kills and Bible on Divine TV. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, download Divine TV on Google Play Store and subscribe to our YouTube channel. God bless you.